Hey, it's Brandon here, and this is my continuing series of how to utilize your modded PS3. Maybe this is a PS3 you got from me, maybe not. This is a non PS2 backwards compatible late model FAT. It's running custom firmware, EvilNat 4.92. And again, in this video, we're going to cover how to copy over a PlayStation 2 disc. There's two methods for copying over your disc. One of them I'm going to show first. I find it a little bit flaky. It's not perfect. You might have to try multiple times. That involves sticking the disc in the PlayStation directly. The method that I recommend, it's 100%, it's foolproof, is copying the disc via your PC and then transferring it onto the PS2 or PS3 via FTP, which, if you're nerdy, means file transfer protocol. So to attempt to copy the disk, we're going to hit up the utility folder and we're going to get to Multiman. That's how you get it on one of my PS3s. I like to organize them via folder. It's going to launch Multiman. And then we're going to head over to the game tab and pop in our disk and see how it goes. All right, I got a couple games on here already. Leave them be. For our consideration today, we're going to pop in Clock Tower. I love this game. It's supposed to be a horror game. I find it kind of silly and kind of fun. So I'm going to pop it on this PlayStation 3 and see how it goes. We'll give it a second. Generally, when you pop in a PS3 disc, I like to count to 5. There you go. There's your 5 count. So we're going to hit triangle on the disc. And then for PS2 games specifically, I like to load them as ISOs. If you've watched the PS3 video, you know that you can try to copy them in a folder format, or you can create an ISO. For PS2s, I definitely recommend ISOs. I just find that they just tend to work a little bit better. In my personal experience, I don't have any scientific method. It's going to ask us to state the storage location. If you have a USB external drive connected, it'll show up in this list and you pick it. I only have the hard drive, HD0. So we'll go ahead and commit. It's going to create its ISO image, hopefully. So we'll just kind of sit back. In the background, you can kind of see it populating with files. It's probably hard to make out in this video, but there's little white lines of code, text commands. I see a lot of retrying, and the progress is at 0, so I think this is probably going to fail. Yeah, like I said, this method, I haven't found it to be especially reliable. Yeah, so I gave it a minute. It said error occurred while accessing data. It seems to be like 50-50. You'll restart the PS3, you'll try again, maybe you'll get it that time. I did manage to successfully copy this game, Raw Danger. This is another really good game if you like kind of the Resident Evil style of games. This one's more about just avoiding environmental dangers. Yeah, I like these kind of offbeat kind of games, but yeah, this failed. So we're gonna try the copy instead of the create ISO. Maybe we get lucky there. So again, I'll hit triangle and we'll just state copy. See how that goes. Confirm. Aborted instantly. All right, cool. Yeah, so again, I'm not a fan of this method. I don't really like it because you'll retry a bunch. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. It's just not. If it fails, make sure you delete the partial copy from the internal hard drive. In general, I just don't really like it, And then the other thing that you get with this method is it doesn't name your files. Like, they'll show up as a bunch of numbers. I don't have an example here for you because I already FTP'd it and renamed it. But, like, for instance, if I go into my Webman games, PlayStation 2, I did rename this to Raw Danger, but when it copied, it was initially like 250110 underscore 98374 or some shit like that, right? So you don't get a file name, you don't get the disk art. Like this PlayStation 1 game I imported myself. Harmful Park. You get the nice disc art, you get all that stuff. I'll show you how to create all that and copy it over with your computer. All you need is a disk drive on your computer. That's it. So my recommendation for you, viewer from the internet, PlayStation 3 copy onto the directly backup onto the PlayStation 3. That's usually really reliable. I've had really good success rate copying PlayStation 3 games directly to the PlayStation 3. That's good. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, 50-50, you know? You might retry a bunch. You might get a bunch of failures. So just to make a point, I did restart the PS3. I went into Multiman again, and I retried it, and now it's taking. Same game. I left it in the disk drive. Nothing changed. I just restarted the PS3, tried it again. This time it's taking. I've had it fail partially through one of these as well, so it's not foolproof. But like, if you don't have access to a computer at all, you know, this is still a way that you can do it. It's a little more frustrating, in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend it over the other method, but this does work. I'm going to get Clock Tower 3 on this PS3 in roughly 15 minutes or so, right? So even with a non-PS2 backwards compatible PS3, I'm still able to circumnavigate a method to play a PlayStation 2 disc on it, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, I will pop back when this is done to show you how to rename it. Again, assuming you don't have a computer to orchestrate all this. Okay, so it's been longer than 15 minutes. I have ADD. I walked away and forgot about this. But the point is, the ISO was saved successfully. Looks like it took 9.5 minutes. That's pretty good. So we'll go ahead and hit X a couple times. We're back at the screen. And now if you remember from the PS3 copy method, we're going to give it a restart. You don't strictly have to. That's just what I like to do. You can just exit Multiman. But I like restarting the system personally. That's just, you know, I like seeing it boot up. Fills me with pride and joy. What can I say? Oh, we'll pop out the disc. This is my copy of Clock Tower 3, which comes with the original purchase receipt from KB Toys. Pretty cool. Stuff like that makes me happy. I'm not the original owner, but I love to see it. So anyway, we're going to pop on over to Webman. I see there's only one PS2 game in there. Whoopsie doodle. How do I fix it? I go to Webman Setup and I say refresh games in XMB. You can do just games, but I like to do it this way. You can do it a different way. That's okay too. There's also Irisman. You can mess with Irisman. I've only started to mess with it, so I can't recommend it just yet. But that is another option. People say it has higher compatibility. If you have issues playing a specific game, maybe try loading it up in Irisman. I don't have a lot of personal experience with this one, so I can't speak to it, but I do chuck it on the PS3 just to play with it and get experience. So we go to Webman Games. I go to PS2. Oh, and it actually read it as Clock Tower 3. That's great. Okay. When I copied over Raw Danger, I just got that series of numbers that I talked about. I guess I'll show you what to do if you do get that series of numbers. We're going to head back into... Well, first of all, we should make sure it works, right? Again, if you get a PS3 from me, I'll tell you right now that I set the fan to go 50% when you play PS2. It taxes the system pretty good. So you hear there, the fan's ramping up. That's totally normal. That's something that you can adjust in the Webman settings if you don't like it. But I like to keep the PlayStation at 60 to 70 Celsius. That's what I look for at my own PC. When I monitor the temps while I'm gaming and putting load on it. When you launch a PS2 game, the controller is going to lose connection, so you have to turn it on. It does that stock. There's nothing really to be done about that. So just know you have to turn your controller back on. maybe you have this in a cabinet or somewhere where it's just not right in front of you when you're playing. You probably won't notice the fan that way. But the game's working. No issues there. Some notable options to run through real quick. We hit the button. The fan controller doesn't work, but it still will read the FPS and the temperature, which I find interesting. Anyway, if we go to other settings, your screen mode, this is where you can set normal or wide if you want to stretch it. Smoothing is another option. It's basically like a mild upscaler. It's pretty subtle, but it's going to get rid of some aliasing artifacts, some of the jaggies. My rule of thumb for it is if you're playing a lot of 3D, I recommend turning smoothing on. If you play a lot of 2D, I would leave smoothing off because you want that raw pixel output. Cool. Looks like the PS2 game is working. I'm satisfied. You can see by the blue light there's no disc in there. So we have copied a PS2 game into a non-PS2 compatible system, and now we're playing it. So if you think you need a backwards compatible PS3, you're wrong. I mean, they are more desirable for a reason. They're pretty well built. I think these are underrated. You can still get a pretty good, PS1, 2, 3 experience with one of these bad boys. All right. So if you get a series of numbers, first of all, we're done with this part of the video. You can skip ahead to the PC section. I'm going to show you how to rename a file here. It's easier to do on PC, but again, if you don't have a PC and you're just looking at your PS3, this is what you're going to do. Hey pup, my dog's walking in the room here. Hey buddy. Hey boo boo. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to launch Multiman. The controller turns off again, which is wonderful. I love that so much. Oh my god. Oh, that's a dog fart. Okay, sorry. Sometimes my dog farts, and the first reaction is like, where's the poop? Because it's just so bad. I had to open the window here and air it out for a few minutes before I could continue, because it's just like toxic warfare. Oh, okay. Where were we? Right, so you're going to open Multiman, and you're going to go to this far left option here, File Manager, MMOS, and that's going to open up this kind of desktop looking deal. With the right stick, you can move around your mouse cursor, per se. And it's been a minute, but I think if we go to PS3 root and double-click X, yeah, it opens up this kind of window thing. So what we're going to do is find the game. We copy the game to our hard drive, which is HDD0. So I'm going to double click with X on that. Okay. And then we go down to, this should be a folder called PS2 ISO. I'm double clicking X. And then here's some artifacts of what I mean. 2020, 50, 5011. I think these are all failed copies. It does say they're really small, so it's probably fine to leave them, but if you want to get rid of them, I think it's triangle. Nope, let's try circle. Yeah, circle, and then delete, confirm, and you can get rid of any failed artifacts. It prompts you to say, do you want to delete the failed copy, but I guess sometimes it doesn't always do that. So you can do that kind of cleaning if you want. The Clock Tower 3 here, this is named appropriately. But if you want to rename it, you can hit circle on it, and then go down to rename. And then that's how you can do all that without a computer. But now I'm going to show you the correct, at least, or how about this? I'll show you the best practice. This method always works without fail. Okay, so you don't have to retry a bunch of times and go through all this rigmarole. You just need a computer that's connected to the internet. I'll see you there. You're going to need a couple things. First off, you're going to need an FTP program. FTP means File Transfer Protocol. It just means you're going to transfer stuff over the internet. you are going to need Filezilla or similar. WinFTP is another good one. They're all free. There's really no problem there. Another free program you need is ImgBurn. Physically, you are going to need a USB DVD drive of some kind. I think I got mine for $10. It still had the little plastic wrap on it. Basically new. Haven't had any issues with it. The last thing you're going to need is the IP address of your PS3. You can get that in Multiman. I think it's the second tab over, the system information, or on the PS3 XMB menu itself, you'll find it under system information. It lists the IP address. I'm going to go ahead and punch in mine real quick, and I'm not worried about you guys because it rotates. It is not a static address, so I'm fairly confident you can't hack me with this information. You're just going to punch that in, and we're going to save that for later because the first thing we want to do is copy the disk. So I'm going to pop the disk in my DVD drive on my computer. And we'll give it a second. And then on ImgBurn here, we want to create image file from disk. So we'll go ahead and select that option. It sees my Dell DVD drive. That's perfect. Destination. I'm going to select the drive I use for this stuff. I call it noticeably FAT, which is a Futurama reference. If you get that, I love you. I've got PS2 folder, my disk rips, and then this one is Raw Danger, because I don't have that ripped yet. So I'm going to go ahead and rip that. We'll hit save. .iso is the format that I want for PS2. If you're ripping PS1, I believe you want the .bin.q. You do not want an ISO. I don't think your PS3 is going to recognize it. You can convert it though, no big deal. And this option right here is the one we want to hit go. And off to the races it goes. I will continue this when it's complete, although it goes fairly fast. So this shouldn't be more than a couple minutes. All right, so we're back, and this is about to finish. It makes quite a bit of noise when it's done. Okay, so if you are playing a game or something while this is burning, it's gonna do that and like overwrite. Like this window is gonna pop up in your game. So don't be playing anything online where you don't want to be interrupted by this. All right. So anyway, operation completed. Go ahead and pop out the disk. Okay, and then you can throw this up on eBay or put it on the shelf and know that your game is backed up forever. You don't have to use this disc again if you don't want to. I did show you the disc, so you know this is mine. So if you're a lawyer, don't be coming after me. Okay, so we put it in that specific place. We'll go ahead and bring that up right now. I'm going to put noticeably FAT, PS2, rips. There it is right there, Raw Danger. If you have, you can take it a step further. You can load up PCA XX2, which is a PS2 emulator, just to double check that your thing works. You can go boot ISO, Raw Danger. And just make sure she loads up. Stop it. Okay, I don't have a controller hooked up, but the game loaded. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Okay, so now at this point, you got your IP address. You punched it into the host, and you hit connect. Could not connect to server. Okay, let me see what I did wrong. I'm going to pause and come back. Okay, we're back. Looks like I fat fingered it. Typo in the IP address. No problem. You get this insecure FTP connection warning. That's okay. You're on your home network. You're probably just fine. I'm not an IT security expert. Keep that in mind. But I haven't had an issue. Been doing this for years. On your remote connection, we're going to find Dev HDD 0. And then inside of here, we can see all of our folders. You can get to it either way. But PS2 ISO, it's where you're going to throw your ISO. A tip for you, if you want cover art, you're going to need to create that yourself. How I recommend doing that is to go on the internet and just type it in. Okay, get your image search, and then pick whatever you like. Doesn't matter. I like this one. It looks like what I got. You don't need a huge image, so you can just copy this, like from where it's at. You can either save it. It might be a little too big though. 528 by 10704. Image size is not your friend when it comes to these. So what I like to do is I go my Windows snip tool, which is currently recording my desktop, so I can't do that. I just trace it. I just draw it out and copy it. And then you just want to save that as the exact file name and include it next to your ISO. So I've got Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance USA.iso. And so as a PNG or a JPEG, you'll save Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance USA. The exact same name. The PS3 is going to be smart enough to associate the two for you. And then you get nice looking cover art next to your stuff. You do need to create this yourself. It's not included when you rip the ISO. Maybe one of the programs can go fetch cover art for you, but I'm not aware of it. You know, drop it down in the comments if I'm wrong about that. So anyway, inside of PS2 ISO, you can technically rip PS3 ISOs as well, and they'll appear here. I went for the game folder, so they're in the game folder collection, and you can now grab these and drag and drop them off the PS3. Right? It's going to take a while, especially the bigger files. But as long as you leave Multiman open, it should prioritize the FPT connection and keep it stable for you. It might take a couple hours, but it will happen. So anyway, let's see here. I've already got an ISO on here, but you can imagine me drag and dropping. Oops. Drag and dropping. And then when it's complete, it'll show up down there, and that's it. Okay, so you pop the disc in your DVD player, you rip it with ImgBurn. For PS2, you want an ISO format generally. And then for PS1, you're going to want, just as an example, you're going to want a bin queue. And then, sorry, I need to pick one that I've actually put on a PS3 that has the cover art. Come on, Brandon. Let me think for a second. Xenogear should have it. Yeah. So you've got your bin, your queue, and then your .png, which is going to be your cover art. And you can make it whatever you want, you know. So like for disc 2, I like to branch out a little bit and maybe do something like some fan art or something, but you still know what it is. Okay, that's the splash screen. That's kind of boring, but you get the idea, right? So again, PS2 ISO format, PS1 bin queue format, and you should be good to go. If you have any questions, post them down in the comments. Thanks for watching.